60 Minutes overtime.
It was nearly 6 years ago that Malaysia Flight 17 left Amsterdam en route to Malaysia, but was shot down over Ukraine, apparently shot down by a Russian-built missile system. What we discovered is that during these nearly 6 years, there has been a painstaking investigation, and Dutch prosecutors are now ready to go to trial with the suspects that they believe are responsible.
We started with multiple scenarios in the beginning. One was it an accident that could be discarded quite quickly? The other one, was it an explosion from inside? And the last two, most importantly, was it air-to-air? Like, was it shot by a plane, or was it surface-to-air?
Some of the earliest evidence in this case was discovered by civilians who were looking for information, photographs, and videos on the internet, and they were being led by this gentleman by the name of Elliot Higgins. Higgins had just days before started what is essentially an online detective agency that he called Bellingcat. What Higgins discovered was that in this war zone of eastern Ukraine, there were a lot of people, average civilians, who were shooting videos and stills of military convoys going back and forth.
So this is one of the first videos that was shared online after MH17 was shot down, and it was shared claiming that this was a Buck missile launcher.
So there were quite a number of photographs of this particular missile system, which was on the bed of a flatbed truck. There was even a phone number on the side of the flatbed truck.
Very clearly a phone number on the same side of that vehicle.
This is a telephone number?
That's right, that's a telephone number. In fact, people call that number up and ask the owner, what's going on? Why is your truck in this photograph? And he said his vehicle yard had been taken over by separatists sometime earlier.
In addition to that, they were able to use geolocation, Google Maps and things like that, so they could very precisely say the convoy was in this location on this day at that time.
Someone actually calculated the route between the vehicle yard and that first video we saw, and then used Google Street View to basically drive down the road, the same route, until he managed to actually find a location that matched this place exactly.
One of the things that they can do if there's no time information in the photograph itself is they use shadows, like a sundial.
Based on your research, this image was taken when, in relation to the timeline of the shoot-down of MH17?
Well, in this case, we know exactly where the camera is positioned, and you can also see shadows that are clearly visible. And that allows us to use these shadows as a sundial. So we were able to establish that this photograph must have been taken between 12 and 1 o'clock.
And by chaining together all of these photographs and videos and the geolocation information, they were able to essentially draw the line of the convoy from a military base in Russia all the way to the firing position in eastern Ukraine.
And in Kursk, there's a missile brigade called the 53rd Air Defense Brigade, and we were able to establish for certain the missile launcher came from that particular brigade.
And Kursk is in Russia, and the 53rd Brigade is a Russian military unit.
Yes, and it was probably very likely crewed by Russian crew.
The Russians have created any number of stories about what might have happened to Malaysia Flight 17. They suggested that it was shot down by a Ukrainian Air Force plane. They suggested that it was shot down by a Russian system that was in possession of the Ukrainian military.
They focused first of all on satellite imagery of a Ukrainian missile base where there was a Buk missile launcher parked, which then moved. But we reviewed those satellite images and we could show that they were actually old photoshopped images. They claimed the video filmed in Luhansk, which was filmed on July 18th, showing the missile launcher, was filmed in another city. But it wasn't. We could show that the details in this video matched perfectly to one specific location in Luhansk, not the location they claimed it was.
One of the things that's on the cutting edge of the investigation now is some of these telephone intercepts that Ukrainian intelligence recorded and has supplied to the investigators.
You released some of the communication intercepts that mention the Russian defense minister, the deputy director of Russian intelligence, and an aide to President Putin. Are you suggesting that those people are involved or had knowledge of this?
Well, we are not suggesting anything at this moment. We were doing a call for witnesses, and what we want to know is who can tell us more about a probable involvement of them or not, and how this went about.
Does this trail lead all the way back to the Kremlin? Can they make a case against any of these higher officials that are mentioned on these phone calls? We don't know yet, but we do know that's where the investigation is headed.